Good morning, everyone. It is May 21st, and we have some big announcements today, and I'd like to spend my time on that and what it means to you as a business person, as an HR person, as a technology person. So as I've discussed over the last several months, the learning and development domain, the $360 billion market for training, education, professional development, enablement, is about to be completely redefined or revolutionized by AI. And we are going to be a major part of that. We are launching today a new platform called Galileo Learn. Galileo Learn is a learning platform based on native AI technology that allows you to take any form of content of any type, video, audio, documents, process, checklists, interviews, and turn it into instructional material of many, many forms automatically, with your opportunity to curate it, customize it, and configure it to turn into the program that you desire. And consumers or employees who use Galileo Learn can personalize the experience and have these programs appear as courses, as e-learning courses, as videos, as audios. They can talk to Galileo Learn as a tutor. They can ask Galileo Learn questions. They can ask Galileo Learn to create mobile podcasts. I mean, there's dozens of ways it will personalize your experience, and Galileo Learn will take all of the content you create and build skills-based learning paths, skills assessments, and skills communities simply based on the content without you having to manually decide or define a bunch of skills taxonomies. Now, the initial plan that brought us here was to convert our Josh Bersin Academy to a new platform. And those of you that have used the Josh Bersin Academy know that it has been a very successful platform for professional education and skills development in many, many areas of HR. But the complaints we generally got were that it was very, very useful and very, very important to people, but it wasn't evolving to new content fast enough. In other words, many of the programs in there were either elementary or mid-level, and people wanted more advanced material, more current material, and so forth. And of course, as you know, we are constantly coming up with new best practices, talking to companies, coming up with new benchmarks, writing research reports, doing case studies, identifying vendors and technologies. And so we could not build content fast enough to make the Josh Bersin Academy as dynamic as we know you need. So here we are with a whole new version of the Josh Bersin Academy. More than 700 courses are already built, and we're going to be able to update this thing every week, if not every day, with new courses, new content, new experiences, new perspectives for you. But it's much more than that. Beyond the new Josh Bersin Academy, Galileo Learn is also your learning system, because you as an individual or as a training manager or as an HR leader can extend and implement new features and new content into Galileo Learn simply by uploading and developing content of your own. So it is not only a platform for us to distribute content to you and for you to consume and meet other people and learn, but it's also a learning platform for you to build academies of your own. The first implementation we already know is going to be extensions of the JBA into new domains of HR that are local to your company. So if you have local HR practices, local HR policies, or particular important cultural things, you can simply add that to Galileo Learn and make it your custom academy. But well beyond that, you can make Galileo Learn your leadership development academy, your management academy, your performance academy, your sales academy, whatever you want. And we are going to extend our content capabilities in different domains as well, though we haven't really decided which area we're going to focus first, but we're very likely to move into leadership development as a category. Now, the question you're probably going to say to yourself is, well, we already have a learning platform. Why do we need another one? And that's true. I don't think there's a company on the planet that doesn't have a learning management system and a whole bunch of content libraries already connected to it, or an LXP. Well, this is a complement and a slow and steady, probably upgrade or replacement to that old technology. The platform that Galileo Learn is built on is called Sana Learning, and a lot of you probably heard of Sana. And Sana Learning is, in some sense, a next-generation LMS. It doesn't have all the features and capabilities that you might have in your current LMS, but you can load SCORM-based content or any existing courseware into it, and it will turn it into this dynamic content platform. So Galileo Learn is complementary and supplementary and eventually could, if you decide, replace some of your existing learning systems. In addition to that capability, you have to sort of go back and read the new research that we just launched today called The Revolution in L&D and see that the big change here is not just Galileo Learn, but the change in paradigm. Because what Galileo Learn is it is a dynamic publishing system. Content that is consumed by employees is published dynamically based on their interests and their needs. There are courses, of course, that you build when you upload content into it, but you can also allow the learner to generate content of their own, to ask it questions, to use the AI tutor, to use the Ask Josh feature, and other features that make it consumable immediately by them. So in some sense, we've now made the transition from the slow and legacy publishing approach to training to the dynamic content approach that I've talked about multiple times. And this means that Galileo Learn is an enablement system. It's a knowledge management system. It's a support system. I had a very interesting conversation last week with the head of operations for a large restaurant chain in Europe. And I think I mentioned this last week. And she is trying to find a way to share best practices around Europe amongst the many franchisee holders of these restaurants. Galileo Learn is perfect for this because anyone either in headquarters or in a local store could upload a video or an audio or some content that they generated and share it, and everyone else in the network could immediately see it and consume it and find it and ask it questions. Now, this begs the question of how people access a platform like this. And so the second major part of this announcement is we have integrated Galileo Learn into Galileo. Galileo and Galileo Learn are coupled together. So Galileo as a front-end tool on your PC, on your phone, on your mobile device, which will answer questions and generate content for you locally based on the corpus of knowledge in Galileo itself, will find and access Galileo Learn as part of its corpus. So we are the first AI agent provider that I know of that has created a complete learning experience within the AI agent itself. Imagine you are an HR business partner, or you are a supervisor in a retail location, or you are a line manager or a senior manager, and you want to ask questions about a management issue or a problem you're having with your team, or a technology topic that everybody's trying to address, or a policy for HR in a certain country. And you go into Galileo and you ask that question and it answers the question. And on the right-hand column, you see the reference sources. And one of the things you see was a series of small courses on each of these topics. You click on the course, a window opens, you open a video, you take the course, you go back, you solve the problem. That type of experience is embedded and integrated directly into Galileo now. So in a sense, this is a multi-tier architecture where every employee in your company or any HR person in your company can have access to the power and corpus of Galileo, and behind the scenes, you can support them with an ongoing custom library of your own of courses, leadership experiences, videos, or other developmental tools, including assessments and many other formats from your L&D department or your corporate or content department to enable these employees. Now, I think what's going to happen, and I talked about this a lot at our conference this week, is we're going to shift away from L&D being L&D. I have no problem with learning and development as a title or a concept, but the reality, as you know, as I discussed last week, is that what we really are trying to do with L&D is enable people who perform at a higher level. And we do that through a function that we also could call enablement. We would call it performance consulting, instructional design, instructional content development. But I think the instructional part of this will be done more and more by machine, and we will be the enablers of performance in our companies. So imagine a situation where your employees have access to Galileo and Galileo Learn, and you're seeing them ask a bunch of questions on a topic that is perhaps not completely explained clearly in your company's policies or content, you could quickly and immediately either crowdsource or build or upload that content. And in the next hour, people who are looking for solutions in that area would find it. So this is an enablement platform, a communication platform, a learning platform, a content development platform, and an intelligence system to solve problems, turn on the consulting mode or consultant mode in Galileo itself, and help coach and develop the individuals in your company to perform at a higher level. Now, you can buy Galileo Learn as an individual for only $495 a year per user, same price from the Josh Bersin Academy, and there's a bundled price for Galileo and Galileo Learn, also available with a $200 discount. And of course, we have corporate licenses and team licenses as well. Now, let me take a step back and sort of explain to you where I think this is all going. I think, generally speaking, the AI planet that we now live in is going in two simultaneous directions. The first is AI platforms for business applications, multifunctional agents that do recruiting, performance management, various process or workflow related activities that go on in our companies. And I talked about that last week or the week before relative to ServiceNow. But the second, maybe bigger use of AI is as our own personal assistants, coaches, mentors, consultants, advisors to make us better at our personal jobs, our personal careers, and our personal roles and responsibilities. Galileo Learn does both. Galileo itself is a multifunctional agent, but coupled to Galileo Learn, you can now offer to your employees or to yourself a complete assistant and agent that can do almost anything you need to make your company more successful. And those of you that work in L&D and content development and content design and performance consulting and instructional design, you have the most amazing tool at your fingertips now to build content. One of the most exciting things I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of tools. I've never seen anything quite like this. Now, just to give you an example of how powerful this system is, we decided to move in this direction last fall, less than a year ago. Around January, we started the migration of all of our content, hundreds and hundreds of courses and resource materials into Galileo Learn. And here it is, the third week in May, and we're ready to launch it. That's how fast you can build amazing experiences with Galileo Learn. Now, we are going to be here to help you with this. We are building online materials. There are courses on how to use Galileo Learn in Galileo Learn. We will step you through the process. We'll be doing workshops on Galileo Learn, just like the workshops we just did this last week on Galileo, and much, much more to come. If you are an HR manager, if you're an L&D leader, if you're a consultant, if you're a small business that does implementation, if you're an HR executive, please take a look at this and talk to us. There are many, many configurations of this solution and many applications that we've already explored with lots and lots of companies. And for those of you in LA this week at Irresistible, you will hear several of our clients talk about Galileo Learn and explain to you exactly why it is such a groundbreaking new solution in the world of HR, in the world of business, and the world of L&D. Have a great week, everybody. I will share much more in the coming days. And for those of you that were at Irresistible this week, I hope you had a wonderful experience, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon. Bye for now.